Shannon Kerwin, and I'm with my good friend.
Hi, this is Waboso.
And we are introducing you to our podcast,
Eve Intersected.
And this is born out of our collective, I'll classify it as love and appreciation for each other and the discussions that we have that we believe others are experiencing in the world of sport, outside of sport, in academia, in our homes. And we welcome you, and we hope you enjoy the content that we're about to present, which starts with episodes around the Super Bowl halftime show from 2025.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Shannon. We invite you guys all to come on this journey with us, where we're really just two women trying to find common ground in this world that's becoming ever more complex.
100%. I look forward to chatting with you, Kay.
Same.
Okay, welcome back. Shannon Kerwin. I am a faculty member in the Department of Sport Management at Brock University, and I'm here with my friend, Kay Waboso. So, Kay, welcome. Nice to see you again.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. It's me, Kay, Child and Youth Studies doctoral candidate, as well as an instructor in the Sport Management Department here at Brock University. Really, really happy to be back here again.
Yeah. And Kay and I often have these chats and often talk about different things that are going on in the world. And I think it's just wonderful to continue the dialogue from our last episode. Absolutely. And see where this takes us.
Yeah. So in our opening episodes, we introduced the Super Bowl performance. We talked about Kendrick Lamar, some of his personal and professional accolades. We discussed the opening of the show, some of the symbolism around his way of dress, the performers, how they entered the scene, and we talked quite a bit about Uncle Sam, right? Samuel L. Jackson in the role of Uncle Sam. So today we want to progress and discuss the set list primarily and some of the interesting points to note with respect to that.
And Kay, I think one of the interesting things that we dialogue about a lot, and this a performance at the Super Bowl halftime show. It's so much bigger than that. And what we talked about last time around how everybody interprets things in different ways and how we might be able to resonate with whoever's listening to say, well, that's how I interpret it, or maybe I didn't interpret it that way, and really challenging people to have a think on what they're consuming and how they interpret that consumption, I think is, I just love hearing what you have to say about different things, and thank you.
Thank you for that framing. I'll pick up from there. So Uncle Sam was so pivotal because I think Uncle Sam represents America, I think is what he was trying to challenge us to accept, right? Typically, American culture is defined by hypermasculinity. We know this. So the core features of hypermasculinity are, able-bodied, heterosexual, Christian, white male. And Samuel Jackson is an older man by his physical attributes, but standing in the role, saying that Black Americans, although systematically marginalized in America, consistently along important metrics such as healthcare, infant mortality, lifespan, environmental racism, also deserve to be seen and represented equitably. And this performance boldly thrusted Black Americans into the role typically reserved for white Americans. Uncle Sam is also the voice, in my opinion, of assimilation, the assimilation necessary for Black Americans to thrive in America. So this takes us now to the set list. And I wanted to start with when Uncle Sam says, Mr. Lamar, do you really know how to play the game? He says, then tighten up. Yeah. What did you think when that happened?
Well, I immediately, when we talked about the last episode, I was kind of getting lost in, is that Samuel L. Jackson? Hey, I know that particular actor. And it kind of got caught in then him saying, tighten up. Immediately I thought, okay, something's happening here. This is where the first moment where I realized something might be more than just the Super Bowl performance, but no underlying assumption beyond, that's an interesting message. And then that's where it stopped for me. I just thought, okay, this is interesting that someone is telling us to tighten up. He's dressed as Uncle Sam, not normally a black man. And that was my first point, to say something's going on here. What's the messaging that's happening?
Absolutely. We talked about, there were points throughout, commonly for both of us, where I knew something was going on, but I knew I wasn't catching it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I could feel a sense of anticipation, excitement that something was going on.
Yeah.
Thank you for that point of view. So when that happened for me, I was having goosebumps because my immediate perception was like, Uncle Sam was virtue signaling to Kendrick Lamar to say, stay within the lines of what is acceptable for a Black American.
Yeah.
Tighten up. Don't stray out of the confines of quote unquote normalcy within the Black American experience.
Yeah.
So it was profound for me. With this reorientation, Kendrick begins with the song Be Humble. And again, I would encourage anybody interested, take a minute to listen to some of these songs because they're profoundly deep. I don't know how else to say it. Layered, deeply layered. So again, he begins with Be Humble. And the imagery going on at that time was the performers got into a formation where it was like they were the heartbeat.
Yeah.
It was like they were like pulsating. And for me, that illustrated the heartbeat of America, right? The symbolism could not have been clearer. He was drawing attention, in my opinion, to the fact that Black labor is inherent to the thriving American economy. It's an important factor. In essence, Black people are like the heartbeat of America.
Yeah.
And
Can I jump in terms of that, like the heartbeat, and that even symbolizes we're at a football game and we're thinking about who is the heartbeat of that football game. Typically Black men are playing football, whereas not necessarily sitting in the front office. And so the heartbeat of what's happening on that field. Wow. And this is where, when you started to challenge me to think about this, and not explicitly, but implicitly in our conversations, I started to think more and more, okay, that is the one layer of symbolism, it's the football field. But then the next layer is the community and the American community, but then also North American community. And what does that mean here in Canada? And so it's the layer on that you're telling me about, whoa, this is a performance. And it is really exciting to think about. So that imagery of the heartbeat, I think, and what that means for Black folks carrying whatever they're carrying, the football game, the nation, the labor on their backs. I picture that more now, which in the moment, it was lost on me. I hadn't seen it until we started to unpack it.
So interesting to consider it from that was deep too.
Yeah.
That point of view. Thank you for that.
More so it's coming from when you challenged us to listen to the song, to think more about this. That's the point, is to really see that a lot of what we're hearing and seeing, especially right now, what's happening in the world, you need to think deeper about these things and just even look into something more than just the surface level. So
absolutely.
I keep just saying I appreciate you pushing me, and then if we're thinking about this, thinking about pushing us to think about things on another level.
Yeah.
Love
deeper levels of critical engagement necessary in the world today.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. You're so right. Yeah, the performers during that time too were like nodding their heads like it was gonna fall off their necks. Like they were nodding so emphatically. Also, they were holding up their fist, the Black empowerment fist during the performance, firmly asserting the positioning and upliftment of Black Americans within American diaspora.
Yeah.
Like it really gave me goosebumps. This song felt to me really militant in terms of the subject matter as well as their creative interpretation, because it reflected the time of transatlantic slavery, also in terms of another layer, and Black enslavement, where literally Black people had to be humble as essential to their survival, not even their thriving, but survival. So placing this song where he did was just masterful in my opinion.
And right after that Uncle Sam reference, like it's so pointed, I think.
Right? After being told to tighten up and get back within the lines, then it's like, okay, what you're saying to me is mind myself and be humble.
Yeah.
Awesome. Then he follows up Be Humble with the song DNA, another amazing song. The progression from Be Humble to DNA for me was so pronounced. And my interpretation is that although Black Americans are expected to conform and tighten up, in essence, conform to their social role assignment, they inherently take up space and thrive in being true to who they are, right? Thriving is in our DNA. Oh, that was so moving to come to that realization and take that out of the message uniquely for myself. I'm wondering what you think.
So you're saying that, and I immediately go to it. I know we're going to cover this in a different episode, but Serena Williams having the space and place to be able to do the Crip Walk in a stage that was created around Black people thriving, essentially. And that to me is immediately what I thought when you were just explaining what you were explaining about this song, and then thinking about other spaces where Black people are thriving, and how do we foster those spaces in a better way? And I think he's just telling the story of just, let's not focus on all the things that are necessarily going wrong, but let's focus on thriving, which isn't the Scarborough Charter. When we talk about this in our lab a little bit, is about, let's talk about Black thriving and where success happens and where are the spaces that allow that to happen. And I think about inclusion. That's inclusion. Why we're knocking down this term inclusion? We're just saying, let someone thrive. How is that a bad thing? It makes that's where I get a bit fired up in terms of the questioning of that term and some language that we use. So that's immediately where my mind went when you started breaking down DNA.
You know, from a philosophical perspective, I think what people forget sometimes is that your thriving doesn't have to impede upon my thriving.
Exactly.
But in the North American diaspora, getting a little bit off topic here, but please permit me, we always forget that the language we speak, English language, is a highly colonized, binaristic language that was created with intention to reflect these random inequities that we've built a whole nation upon now and have stories around. It's always important in terms of knowledge mobilization. Any chance I get, you know this now, I talk about this almost anywhere I am in. Yeah. It's important to understand that binaries guide our thinking. This or that, tall or short, big or small, right? It doesn't have to be either or, it actually can be both. And what's important to understand about binaristic thinking is that the former in the binary pairing holds the power in the relationship. I say this all the time too, which is why people today talk about my partner versus traditionally my husband and wife. Because when you say partner, it interrogates the binary relationship of husband and wife, which we know gives power to the husband in the relationship. So interrogating binaries is a great place to start for anything. To say that the thriving of it all doesn't have to be you're thriving at the expense of mine. That's a binaristic take. It's like thriving all together. You can thrive, I can thrive. And I think to a certain extent, we as a culture have lost an appreciation for that. We can all thrive, we can all eat, we can all be resilient and flourishing together. And we can all support each other and root for each other in that. So down my rant lane, I'm coming back up.
That's red. That's what we're saying is thriving, and look at where we can thrive. I think and again, I'm not going to even say anything else because you said it perfectly. That doesn't mean that somebody else can't thrive. It's the community in a broad sense. Yeah. No. Well said.
Thank you. And just appreciating how focused and targeted this performance was. And as we continue to talk about it, I continue to appreciate more deeply the intention behind this performance, because really what he did was he was almost like a thief in the night who came in and sort of planted things in sub and unconsciously that after this much time has passed since the Super Bowl, we are still unearthing and uncovering and feeling some of the things he implanted sub and unconsciously. Like such a brilliant strategy to get past the defensive wall.
absolutely. And I my daughter always referenced, we still talk about it actually a lot in our home because she's a big Kendrick Lamar fan, is just the sneaky little smile that he gave in there every once in a while. He's an artist. Like, this is his craft. And I think that's the important piece of continuing to talk about this performance, is because it's art. I mean, we talk about art that sits on a wall and we'll go and look at it and constantly reflect, that's what this is meant to be as well. And it also opens up dialogue around other performances in art that maybe we can also have a conversation about, or others who are listening might want to think about as they go through. But yeah, there's so many little nuances that even as I read the notes coming back for today, I was like, ooh, we can unpack that a little bit more, because I thought about that a little bit longer. And it's really interesting.
To your point, just before we get back into this set list, this point you made about him being an artist, even appreciating things like that was a live performance where he self-edited himself in real time. Yeah. Like, he self-edited out his curse words and things that were not appropriate for the stage he was on and the audience he was performing for. The thought and focus to be able to do that in real time, to me, is really admirable and really speaks into how highly and professionally he engages with his craft.
Yeah, absolutely. And the challenge back to folks to listen, to go back and listen to some of the songs and really dig into the meaning is,
So we go from DNA, where we focus on thriving, to the next song on the set list was Euphoria. What I perceived from this song as a set list progressed was the fact that euphoria can be interpreted as Black thriving within the American paradigm. There's something worth regarding, I think, about the fact that through all the challenges, Black excellence thrives, still maintains itself thriving in America. This is an uplifting, encouraging message of hope, which stands in stark contrast to the instructions Uncle Sam gave him. It's like he threw all that out and said, now watch.
Watch this. Watch as we go. This is a song, as we're reflecting on the list, that I hadn't really heard before the show. And then I think I mentioned last episode, during my viewing of the halftime show, it was hard to hear at some points. I'm at a party with other people. Plus, I felt like the sound system wasn't the best for him on that stage. And so I went back and listened to it. And then everything you're saying about thriving, and it gives you that you almost feel uplifted as you're listening, just even the way in which he's laid out the sound around him within the song. It was masterful, truly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but relatable. It was a song I didn't know, and relatable. Absolutely. As I come back to challenging folks to listen, because it was a song I didn't know, and there's a lot of meaning in it.
Yeah, for sure. For me, some of the other meanings I took out of it were, this song for me symbolized the constant tension within the relationship between the American administration and the Black American lived experience. We refuse to stay in the lines that are prescribed for us, so to speak. Yeah. So then after Euphoria, Uncle Sam comes back out, right? Yeah. And he calls Kendrick Lamar a culture cheater, exactly, and instructs the scorekeeper to deduct one life. Yeah. Big breath, deep breath. That was difficult because it was sold so effortlessly. Yep. But the meaning,
almost missed it. You almost miss it. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Yeah.
The meaning was so powerful and pronounced, but it was tendered almost so casually. Yeah. It literally knocked the wind out of me completely. That's what happens when Black people engage with their flourishing and revel within a space of euphoria. Yeah. There's the potential for danger because you're acting outside of your social role assignment again, right? Yeah. And just as callously as he said, deduct one life, it feels like that's the relationship that Black people, particularly males, have with the policing system. Yeah. Very casually erasing Black lives.
Yeah. And so the way you said it, so very casual, you almost miss it. Plus, the whole performance was sort of established around the video game. So could have said deduct 1 point, could have said deduct 1 level, but went specifically to life, which again comes to your point. If at the moment nobody's realizing it, but he is telling the story about how we are very casual with Black lives in that moment. To say deduct one life, said it casually, you move on, and then the next song is there. It's the storytelling there, and to your point is you're now having sort of that visceral reaction to that statement, knowing that this is accurate. This is what we are experiencing in North America and other places around the world, but particularly in North America. And then I tie back to Serena Williams, and I know we'll get into this, but she's doing what she wanted to do during a celebration at Wimbledon and was penalized because of that. So thriving in that space, just winning a championship, and then immediately it's taken away, that celebration.
In the court of public opinion, may I add?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And even now, it's just because of that performance at the halftime show that we're able to look back and say, well, wow, that was unfair. That was certainly not appropriate given it was a celebration. It's certainly nothing that's outside the norm, but it was outside of the lines that she was allowed to work within at that time, and I'd even say probably now. But yeah.
So much.
Yeah. In that one line. And it was really quick as the transition. So the place of Samuel L. Jackson in the performance, at what points he came out, so strategic and so thoughtful. And
intelligently outlined.
Yeah. Incredibly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then so we go Be Humble, DNA, Euphoria. Then we move to Peekaboo.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's so much symbolism.
Yes.
Playful and otherwise.
Yes, absolutely.
Behind the term peekaboo. For me, this, again, just layers so insightfully into how thoughtful, as we've been highlighting, intentional, and filled with meaning this performance was. For me, this song symbolized the very real harm embedded within the Black American lived experience of stepping outside of the lines, whatever we're calling them. Deduct one life, speaking directly into the disproportionate experience of Black male youths and adults' exposure, like we just said, to police-related, life-threatening gun violence in Black America, and also alluding to, Kendrick's experience with personal tragedy. At some point, reading all of the discourse and literally looking for spaces that were talking about this, breaking it down so that I could gain a better understanding, I realized, that Samuel Jackson had 16 stars on his jacket, representing 16 people who were important to Kendrick Lamar that he's lost and has spoken about in the past.
Yeah.
So just that intentionality alone was remarkable. Yeah. Was just mind-blowing.
And you had brought that up to me when we were chatting before, and I had no idea that was part of the symbolism. And then that's when you think about how every layer of this show was meant to mean something. And then it had multiple layers. So it's saying that there's certain pieces. So I just think that's another call to say, before we make a judgment, before we say, I know some folks said, I didn't really like that halftime show. Okay, it was, if you just saw it as a show and an in-between quarters at a football game, that's one thing. But let's try and dig a little to see where there could have been a bit more messaging and somewhere we can learn a bit, no matter where we are in what space we are in our life.
Absolutely. And just as an aside, if you even think about, he talks about I'm prophetic. Yeah. That's in one of his songs, but he does talk about that. Man, when you think about this performance in light of just some few short months later, where the American system is today. Yeah. It seems very prophetic, truthfully.
Truth, yes. Yeah.
So to give him credit for that too, did you see this coming down the pipeline, right? To center this iconic story of Black thriving and excellence.
Yeah. During even if we saw this performance today, what might that feel like or look like, or even how might it be received given everything that's happened in a few short months?
Absolutely. Yeah, so getting back to this Peekaboo song, immediately following when Sam Jackson says deduct one life, if you notice, the performers in white are thrusting at the camera, almost like symbolically saying F you.
Yeah.
To the camera, to the Americas, sort of like shame on you for how you've treated us and continue to treat us. That's the way
Trust,
I received that.
Interesting.
I'm sure there are many interpretations for that.
Absolutely, yeah. And that comes back to when I was watching, I noticed the thrust. You noticed sort of it was an aggressive move, and the way even the camera angle was on it was actually built to take that thrust in.
Personal.
And so there was definitely a connection there, and I don't know how pre-production works, but if Kendrick is sitting with them, okay, the camera angle needs to come here, and where does that, because it was aggressive.
It absolutely
was. At the camera, for sure.
It absolutely was. So getting back into insight into the set list and noting a moment of admiration for how thoughtfully it was arranged. Again, talking about this song, Peekaboo, and another thing that occurred to me as I was thinking about this performance, I feel like this song reflects the duality of being Black in America. And this connects quite natural to the work of W.E.B. Du Bois, right? And his well-documented concept of double consciousness. Double consciousness, in short, meaning that, you know, there's a way that Black people conduct ourselves when we are within insider circles with other people of color, per se, where we feel safe, per se. And then there's the other consciousness, the person we distill when we're out in the world. Yeah. And he talks about that, of course, much better than I could. But yeah, I feel like this song, Peekaboo, plays on this idea of double consciousness and also really underscores Uncle Sam as the voice of assimilation once again. The constant threaded layers here are incredible to unpack in terms of we keep going back to his thoughtfulness and his intentionality. Yeah. Like I just really super appreciated that.
Yeah. And this is something we talk about in the lab. So if we have listeners thinking, well, I'm not necessarily a football fan or the Super Bowl halftime show I didn't even watch, just thinking about how this plays out in our everyday lives. We talk about our research lab unpacks community sport. Yeah. And in those conversations, we talk about where Black people feel included. And we've had some of our participants who end up switching their persona based on the people that are in the room. So if I'm sitting in a room and I'm a Black person coming into a room with all white board members, I may feel, look, and sound different because I need to feel safe in that space. And that we've unpacked that a ton. And this is exactly what I'm hearing Kendrick Lamar is saying, is that is a reality in order to feel like you're thriving, because you have to appease the folks that are in the room.
Absolutely.
And how ironic in a stage where we are Black men thriving on the football field, but the white administration is sitting up in the stands. And it's in the boardroom, and even I think politically, I think the administration was there. It's just an interesting way of almost bringing to life what we see in our lab conversations and seeing it on this large scale with this artist that's doing it so well. It really connects to how this is a story that is international, national. It's at our local clubs that we talk about in our lab. So it really is the reality of the world that we're living in. Yeah.
And in our sport management space, it also underscores for people the fact that inclusion isn't representative.
Yeah.
Power isn't distributed across all aspects of sport. That's important for us to know and introduce into this conversation so that people understand that by and large, people of color, women, we've heard about too, don't engage at high levels of power in sport. And that needs to change.
Yeah, absolutely. You nailed it, really, in terms of where we can have this conversation. So we're starting the conversation here.
So to finish off, to cap off talking about this set list, the next two songs, or the two songs, wherever they were situated, that featured SZA, where Uncle Sam comments, "You done lost your damn mind," to Kendrick Lamar, right? Yeah. After telling him to stay within the lines, he didn't, and deduct one life. So now he's saying, okay, man, like, you've lost your mind because you're not obeying or following the rules anymore. And then these songs between him and SZA, which for me felt like this was Kendrick Lamar's love letter to America. This was like, in a perfect world, this is what we would have. The best case scenario of the indulgence of what could be, right? Reflecting more specifically Uncle Sam's comment. So to flush it out a little bit more clearly, I felt like these two songs were reflective of the fact that Black Americans never seem to measure up in terms of transformative and decolonial frameworks that center social justice and equity really now more than ever. And to dream of such a possibility in the way he's doing, I think is likened unto madness. Right?
Absolutely.
So I don't even think that's what Sam Jackson meant when he said you done lost your mind. But it fits. Yes, if you're having any romantic overtures towards your relationship with America, that may be a form of madness.
Wow. So pulling that out is important.
To be extreme and dramatic for a second, please indulge me.
But I also believe there's so many layers to this, that this is a part of how we all interpret it. And then you're interpreting it in that way. And it makes sense if that's the story that's being told. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Kay.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
You have been listening to Kay Waboso and Shannon Kerwin of Brock University. This episode is part of a series unpacking the cultural and historical significance of Kendrick Lamar's 2025 Super Bowl halftime show performance. Theme music is provided by Music Go Beats, used under Creative Commons License 0. Produced by the Podcast Learning Network, Faculty of Humanities, Brock University, as part of the Black History and African Heritage Month at Brock. Executive produced by Allison Innes and sound editing by Andrew Camacho.